sometimes a good run of the resume is the best way, the only way to capture a person's wide-reaching interests and accomplishments. So here we go. My next guest is a mom, an artist, and a ninja. She's actually known as the art ninja. It doesn't get much cooler than that. Jenedy Paige is a woman that we are sort of in awe of. She's an award-winning artist, and you'll most likely recognize some of her stunning work. She's also an American Ninja Warrior. How's that for a swing? She's competed in the competition for many years, and she coaches at the Ninja Gym in Lehi. And as I mentioned, she's a mom that's easy to brag about, especially when you have ninja at the top of your resume. We are so excited to meet you and have you, Jenedy.
Thank you, Brooke.
That is quite the run. And so you weren't always an artist, though. Let's start with the artistic side of you. That wasn't always your natural inclination. You describe yourself as an original academic.
Yeah. So we kind of, we made some jumps. And honestly, like, I have no answer for you, except that when I was 10 years old, my mom taught me a pattern for my life that has directed the course of my life.
What was that?
So she told me that I needed to develop a relationship with God. And that if I tried every day to spend a little time with him, then he would help direct my life. And she gave me 3 things to do. She said, I want you to write in a journal.
Okay.
And say your prayers and read scripture every single day. And so I started when I was 10. I brought the actual artifact for you.
Look at that. This is your 10-year-old journal?
This is my 10-year-old journal. I wrote in cursive because, I had just learned cursive in 5th grade. And at first, it seemed like such a simple thing to do, right? I just read a few things. I had a really repetitive prayer I said every day, read like 1 verse of scripture, and you think, wow, this is this life-changing pattern. Well, eventually you run into problems, like around 8th grade. And then suddenly it's not just, I jumped on the trampoline today. It's like, I have a problem. And then when you pray, you know what to pray about because you have a problem. And when you read your scriptures, you're looking for an answer to a problem.
And you have muscle memory. Like those years previously when you didn't have problems necessarily to take to God or to take to the pages of your journal, you at least had that muscle memory of what to do, and then you could apply it to the new situations or chapters in your life.
Like the pattern was the most important thing.
Yes.
And so when the question came my senior year if I was going to move with my family from Utah to Colorado, what did I do? I applied that pattern, and I received the answer that God wanted me to move. Well, when we moved to this new town, they had no AP program, they had no honors program. And so what was I going to do with my senior year?
And here you are, an academic.
Yeah, like I signed up for art classes.
That was your next step.
Well, because I enjoyed coloring growing up, but I just never really pursued it like seriously.
I enjoyed coloring too, but I have paintings of yours in my home, and I'm not even close to being able to do that. So that was a progression as well for you to develop that gift and that talent.
Yeah, so I went to school for it. I went to BYU, Idaho, and I learned everything at school. But it was all like, it all started with that pattern every morning of asking God, like, what should I do next? And even American Ninja Warrior. The only reason that even happened is because it was something that I felt God wanted me to do.
What a wise mama. Really, though.
Well, and it's crazy because sometimes God might ask you to do something like, hey, why don't you apply to American Ninja Warrior? Like, I'm 34, I have 4 kids, I've never even been to a ninja gym, like, why would I do this?
Yeah.
But if you move forward, then you see miracles happen.
You said something recently on the Lisa Show podcast, one of our faves. You said so many people are stopped from doing all kinds of amazing things because they don't see the value in the try. So I appreciate the pattern, but also there's something about like the effort, and it's the guess we'll see effort, right? You didn't know what was going to work out. You didn't know picking up a paintbrush was going to lead to a career, or submitting that application was going to lead to numerous competitions. But there's value in the try.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I used to watch this old Western with my grandma growing up called Shenandoah. And there's a quote in that movie, Jimmy Stewart, he says, if we don't try, then we don't do. And if we don't do, why are we on this earth? And honestly, it's not a very, sexy idea of like trying again and falling and trying again and falling. Like, nobody likes to do that, right? But it's actually through the trying that you eventually get to the do. And it's so easy to be like, oh, I can't do a pull-up, so I don't do pull-ups, so I don't try pull-ups because I don't do pull-ups, right? Or something like that.
We tell ourselves that story.
We put these limitations in our minds.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, you know how you do a pull-up? You get a bar and you hang from it. And you can't, but you hang. And then you get a stool and you put your foot on the stool. And then you get a band. And it took me probably 9 months of doing that before I got my first pull-up.
Just hanging, just chilling.
Yeah.
So for the mom out there, the grandma saying, I'm past the try, like I missed that boat, my chapter has closed, you would probably push back on that
I'd say
voice.
Start tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, actually, there's a ninja in my competitive world that is 73. and she started her first pull-up at 65.
Oh, wow.
So really,
Wow.
the only limitations are in your head.
You balance a lot, right? We could run the list again. You teach the ninja classes, you trained yourself, you're a professional artist. I'm not gonna ask you how you balance, because I'm sure, like me, you're maybe tired of that word. It's kind of an illusion and a myth,
Right.
truthfully. But if not balance, Jenedy, what value or virtue or character trait do you think busy women need to succeed at the trying and at the accomplishing?
I think you need to be consistent, and I think you need to be flexible. You know, I get up really early every day. And I really think there's huge value in going to bed early and waking up early, even though that's not what most people like to do. I actually built most of my art career between the hours of 4 a.m. and 8 a.m. While my kids were little, I would just get up early and paint. The other thing that I would say is, you know, time is relative. Like, I could spend 2 hours painting and get a ton done, or I can spend 2 hours painting and I'm beating my head against the wall and I'm like, did I even do anything today, right?
Yeah.
And because time is relative, I found that if I get up and I spend that time with God, like my mom taught me, and I ask him what he needs me to do, and then seek to do that, everything else kind of falls into place.
That
Like
relationship serves you.
It literally is key. And
Yeah.
then just showing up every day.
If I can take somewhat of a tender turn, your life took an unexpected and tragic turn when you lost your 3-year-old son in a drowning accident 13 years ago. From your current vantage point, after all that you've experienced, what would you say to someone going through trials or hardships? That can feel not just like a setback, but like a hard stop. It changes everything, doesn't it, in terms of the trajectory and the path forward?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of sound like a broken record right now, but I would say you've got to develop a relationship with God. Like,
Back
you
to
have
it.
to have
Yeah.
a foundation
Yeah.
of faith,
Yeah.
because you don't get through those trials
Yeah.
by yourself. Like, I really would have no advice for someone's like, I'm trying to go through this horrific trial by myself. I'd be like, I don't know how you do it.
And did you feel he always met you? Did you feel, I mean, you're working to develop this relationship and cultivate this connection. Did you feel like he was always meeting you there?
I think he always exceeds my expectations.
Oh, I love that. I love that, yeah.
But and also, I would say you got to build the foundation before the problem comes. You know, I was actually riding a bike trainer in our basement. My husband's a cyclist, and he has this computer program that attaches to the bike, so it gets harder when you pedal. And I had never done it before, and I'm pedaling, and all of a sudden I go through this like blue portal, and all of a sudden, and I can't move the pedals. And my husband's laughing at me, and he's like, Jen, you know, you really need to pick up your pace before you get to that interval. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, oh yeah, I call that the portal of pain. But if you like increase your pace before you get to the portal, you can contain your momentum.
That's interesting. I have a different but related analogy to what you're describing as like preparing or like getting ready for what's to come. I mean, there are 3 different kinds of people that ride a bike. There's the one that falls off. There's the one that gets pushed off. And there's the one that, for at least a little bit, blissfully just rides. And I think you can learn from all of those people. And we are all of those people at different stages in our life. So keeping the pedal going or building the momentum, as you describe it, will serve you down the road.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like put in the work now.
Yeah, I
so
hear that.
When the trial comes, you have the momentum to carry you through.
You just recently competed in American Ninja Warrior for your
ma'am.
5th time. Your 5th time. How did it go? When does it air? Give us all the deets.
Okay, well, you know that I'm not allowed to tell you how it went.
But you know I have to ask.
And I will say, this is my 5th time competing.
Yes.
And in the previous 4 times, they have never aired my run. So that's a little bit of a downer. But this could be the time.
This could be it.
This could be it.
Okay, when is it going to air?
So it would air in spring of 2025 or summer of 2025.
All right, we'll be
sorry,
watching.
You have to wait.
Wait and then watch. In the meantime, how can we follow along with all of your awesome pursuits?
Well, I'm really active on Instagram. Jenedy Paige is my handle. My website, jenedypaige.com. You can have my access to my store. And also, if you sign up for my newsletter on my website, you'll know when I have open houses and Christmas markets and things like that.
You're a light, sister. Thank you for sharing.
Sure. Thanks for letting me come.